Okay, I'm live, it would seem. Look at it. Look at that. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we are going to make the handle wrap for this thingy right here. So what we got to start off by doing is taking a few measurements. So a 10-inch handle wrap. And then we have to kind of figure out how wide this is at the widest point. And that is not going to work because it is not nearly wide enough. So what we're going to do here is take let's see, can we get this to the right width? Using a thicknesser. Maybe. I think the other one's just too firm. I don't know if I'll be able to get it to the right thickness. This thing is actually working pretty well. So I'm using a thicknesser in the corner. And what I'm doing is I am reducing the thickness of a piece of hide that I had previously used and I'm now cannibalizing. So hopefully this works out. Okay, so that this has been thicknessed a little bit. Maybe I can get it to wrap all the way around here. That's going to still be a no. That's okay. We're going to use this to wrap something else because I'm pretty sure... Oof, is it actually going to work on that? Well, we'll see when we try the other thing. So this is going to be a 10-inch piece. Let's see here, 10 inches. It's going to go all the way down there. And then it needs to be 2 inches across. So this is, yeah, not 4 inches, so that's not going to work. So about 2 inches across, and then we're going to give ourselves another inch of material. So this is going to be, just to make it consistent, this is going to be a 10 by 5 piece. Yeah, it's going to be a 10 by 5 piece, and we're going to cut it to size right in the middle. So I'm going to grab myself a piece of leather here. And what I like to do, so I'm going to have to do this off camera because this hide is enormous. What I like to do for these odd shaped jobs is finding a piece that is a bit of a dangly bit. So something that wouldn't necessarily be useful for much else. So I think I found my dangly bit / offcut that I'm going to use for this. Okay, so yeah, I think I can get that 5. So 10 inches. Just double check that. It's always good to double check. Yeah, 10 inches by 5 inches. And there's a little bit of weird artifacting on the piece itself, but that's not going to be a big deal because we have we're going to be tooling all that stuff down. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this, give this a quick snippy snip off camera. And I'll give myself a little bit extra to work with here. So I'm just going to make a quick cut off camera here. What is that? Oh, it's glue. Okay, let's just get all of that off of there because I think it's going to be an issue if I don't. Okay, do I have some on the other side? Just a little bit. Okay, well, whatever. Let's see if it actually is an issue instead of freaking out about it. Okay, no wild zooming this. Oh my god, it's zooming. Why is it zooming? Okay, if I do this, is it can try to zoom again? What about this? If I do this, why does it zoom when I do this? Like, seriously, what is up with that? Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research into why this is happening. That is some wild stuff right there. Like, I don't know why it's doing this. Maybe it's capturing, maybe my hands are framing, and that's why it's doing it. Okay, well, whatever. Let's stop doing that because it's silly. Okay, so we've got our piece here, and that is going to wrap completely around there. Perfect, perfect. So we're going to get our okay, so this is going to become our 5x1. And we are going to make a cut over here. And we're going to square this up a little bit. Okay, so it's going to be our, throw that off to the side. There's that measuring tape. Okay, that's not as big a deal. We have the bottom. Just give this a little test. See if that works for us. And yeah, that does work for us. We've got some excess material. Let's just kind of angle this in such a way that it totally covers that. Okay, I might have to adjust the pitch here. Okay, we're going to have to cut about. Seems pretty square. 4 inches is going to be enough. No, like I said, this is kind of an offcut. So if it turns out that this is not a good piece right here, yeah, I think 4 inches might do it actually, because this is a little bit less than 2 inches. So let's square this off at square this off to the side. Okay, so make that nice and square. Get rid of this. We're going to measure 4 inches from the side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be done. Should use this one. Excuse me. So that's going to be 4 inches from there. Okay, let's just double check over here. That is, oh, that's not quite 4 inches. It's 4 inches there. It's not 4 inches here. Well, what the hell? I guess I didn't quite cut it quite straight at the bottom. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to go with the actual measurement over here. Okay. So it looks like this isn't quite square at the top. Okay, well, I guess let's take this as a reference edge. It seems like it is. Oh, I see. There we go. So we're just going to shave this off teeny tiny littlest bit possible. Okay, so now we are going to bring our tooling stand over here. Just pack up this hide along the side here. I know, exciting stuff off camera. Okay, do that there. Do that there. Okay, now I gotta go grab my water. Two people. My goodness. Okay. All right. Gonna have to, and then we're gonna bring this camera arm down like this, and possibly a little out so that you can see what's going on here. Bring my chair in here. And hopefully I can keep my head out of the way while I do this. Okay, so we're gonna start by giving this a little water on here. And we're just gonna let it dry a teeny tiny little bit. I'm gonna quick towel action to wipe that off. Okay. Okay, so let's get started. And then I'm just going to quickly use this frog skin. Or maybe I should use the other one, like the wound stamp. I don't know, I haven't decided. What do you guys think? Should I use this one as a base? Or this one, which I usually use the frog skin? Well, let's do a little test off in the corner. So we're going to put this one here. I can't decide whether this looks more quote-unquote organic. The other one looks more quote-unquote organic. Trouble with this one, well, I wouldn't necessarily say trouble. Yeah, I don't necessarily like how that looks. So we're gonna go to our go-to, and we're gonna use the frog skin again. And I am just going to, I guess I can do here, like this. Yeah, so I'm just gonna start from the top, and oh yeah, that's what I like to see. Start from the top, work my way down. I don't know how well you guys can see this though. Can you see it better if I do that? Maybe off to the side like that. No, I gotta figure out a better camera setup for this. Maybe I can invert the image so that you guys are getting a different perspective, not just seeing me hammer strike. Well, I'm not gonna be able to figure that out right now, so I guess let's get started. And this will also help kind of compress this hide and make it a little bit more rigid in the places I'm going to need it to be rigid. Again, this is more of a, we're just getting it started kind of thing. This will probably take a little while. Because I have several of these to do. How did I used to do this to make it go really quickly? Like at the end of the day, this is just a background, so how much is actually seen is going to be fairly limited. But we do like to do a good job here, so let's make it as nice and pretty as we can. Yeah, I distinctly remember having to do this a few times. That's a little bit faster, but I don't know if it's really getting good. Well, like I said, this is not really a... Maybe we could try sticking this down. It's certainly doing good for the back, because it's like compressing the grain, which is something that needs to happen regardless. Okay, well, let's... see how much we can get on here. No, that's not good enough. Let's get this headlamp action going on so I can actually see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, that helps a lot. It really is a bunch of little things properly that make an experience just that much better. I feel like there's a maximum amount of speed that I can actually achieve doing this and have it turn out. You know, it's probably like most other things. I imagine it's in the 70% output range. it's like if you're doing a bunch of work, like you have a ton, just like an absolute boatload of stuff to do. If you want to be able to do it for a long time instead of burning yourself out and just wasting time recovering, 70% effort seems to be about the sweet spot. So 70% speed, 70% output. Like I had to move a bunch of dirt one time, and man, it was like literal tons of dirt. And if I had just like put everything into it to get it done as quickly as possible, it would have gone maybe a little faster in the moment, but I would have been so freaking tired. I would have had to take super duper long breaks just to get my mojo back. So yeah, I figured out that about 70% effort is the sweet spot, because as long as you have enough water in your system, you're not overly tired, you can maintain about 70% for quite a long time without it really affecting you. I mean, obviously you should take breaks if you're starting to feel tired, or if you're getting lightheaded, please take breaks. But yeah, about 70% max output is quite sustainable for extended periods of time. Like maximum output really is only meant to be pulsed. Like you don't want to. It's not something you want to be doing over a long period of time. Like you're not going to sprint for more than a few seconds at a time, really. Not to say that you shouldn't be able to do that. I absolutely should be able to do maximum output for short durations. I need to flatten this deck off. Yeah, I think it is. My work surface isn't perfectly flat, so I'm getting some skipping of this this stone. Yeah, it's like vibrating when it shouldn't. So maybe I'll make a video or something of me flattening off the work surface at some point. It would be truly tragic if the lack of flatness on here were to crack my work surface. That would just be horrendous. I would be a little bit distraught. May have to end the stream early if that happens, but I don't think it's going to happen because I have a nice rubber pad between the wood block. What are these made of? We got some 12 by 2s, which are actually 11 by 1.5. Yay for cutting wood when it's wet. Mills used to give you dry, actual 2-inch by 4-inch boards. But then at some point the standard became, oh, we'll dry them, or we'll cut them and then we'll let them dry, which is kind of lame, but whatever. Okay, I feel like we got a good, rhythm going on here. Yeah, and this also serves to flatten out the piece that we're going to be doing. So we put some water on the back, which is now allowing us to compress those grains on the back, which is great because you don't want loose grain. Okay, so that is all nicey. I'm going to make a quick reference line on here using the ruler. If I can find it, it's right here. Excellent. Okay, so that is a little bit over 4 inches. It warped a little bit, but that's not a big deal because we can kind of just pull it back into position and that frog skin will be maintained. Like really, truly, I just kind of have to square it up at the top. So we're going to make a nice right down the middle reference line. Okay, we're going to measure just to be sure. Okay. Two inches from the edge, basically. Okay, so 2 inches. Nope. Nope. 2 inches basically all the way down with a little bit of variation. That is okay though. Okay, 2 inches up here, 2 inches down here, 2 inches up here. Yeah, and then yes. Okay. So I'm just going to use a scratch awl to make you know what? I might as well just use a pen because I'm going to be using that line regardless. So yeah, I'm just going to make a nice clear black reference line right down the middle there, bisecting our frog skin pattern. And then we're going to move on to our honeycomb pattern. And do I still have the notches carved in here? I do. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so with this one, I have to be way more careful. And am I going to start away? Am I going to start away from me and work my way, start close to me and work myself away from me? Or am I going to start close away from me and work myself close? I'm going to start close and work myself away. You are going to see the top of my head because I have to make sure that this is like basically perfect. Otherwise the issues just kind of radiate outwards. And we can see that's already pretty nice. And that's actually even further going to compress this. And just wipe off our surface. Give this a nice little friendly wipe before we keep going. Okay, I really should be putting this closer to the middle. Best work surface like this I've ever worked on was actually an elevated concrete pad in a parking garage of all things. Okay, so let's see if we can't get that nice and perfect. Okay. Yeah, now that we've established kind of that line, I think I can work my way from away then toward myself. Okay, so that's going to kind of sit in there, and yes, that'll be easier because I am actually able to look at the workpiece as it develops, as opposed to having to constantly be peeking behind it. Just got to make sure that I line this up properly every time. And I think at some point I figured out the maximum number of these that I can actually get done in one go without messing up the pattern. And I think it's 4 out of 7 hexagons. 4 out of 7 honeycombs, rather. But again, that is quite a bit better than what I've been able to do previously. Okay, that's going to be a little bit lighter. Just because we are going to use another stamp over this one later. And we don't want to give it too grave an impression. Now I'm doing something called walking the stamp, which is laying it in its footprint from the previous one to get a nice impression. Okay, every once in a while you gotta flip it over to check. Yeah, because this is already thinned quite a bit. I really hope I don't break another stamp. That would be truly tragic. Like, this one's not going to break, obviously, because it's got a lot of surface area, but one of the ones I've used previously has broken while I was using it. That was kind of a bummer, I'm not going to lie. Now imagine having to do this for the whole freaking shield. Oof, that was a long time and a lot of work. I feel like at some point in the not too distant future, I'm going to have to invest in some of these stamps for, say, like a multi-ton press. So I'll be able to put a piece of leather in like an arbor press or a 20-ton press or something like that, and just use the stamps and the press to really get the impression that I'm looking for. Also, I think I'll have to design those myself and have them manufactured, probably at some CNC place, maybe Shapeways. Hopefully the tariffs aren't too bad at that point. Oof. But that's what happens when you wait too long to start your projects and launch your business. You're just going to have to deal with the current circumstances, and it sucks. But through force of will, I guess we're just gonna have to overcome some adversities. You know, it builds character or something like that. Now imagine doing this for 50 or 60 hours to get an entire shield done. I gotta say, that was a bit of a slog. Luckily I had the help of that, as I mentioned, super duper work surface, which was just literally like a huge concrete floor. And I put my work mat over it. Man, that was a hell of a time. You know, as quick as you can make something like that, I rocketed that shield. Like, it had been so many hours in an unideal work circumstance beforehand, but as soon as I had access to that, it just went so fast. I mean, relative to the speed of how this is going right now. This is actually not too bad for its size. That's no good. Okay, let's correct that while we still can. Okay, good. I let that drift a little bit and immediately started distorting the pattern. That is a no bueno. No bueno. Lucky for me, it's near the sacrificial edge, but still we're going to be avoiding that as much as possible, because those kinds of distortions, they don't get better, they get worse over time. Okay. Let's give that a little refresh along the sides. Okay, give that another wipe real quick. And we'll undertake the arduous journey of laying this in the footprint and really trying to not fuck it up. Okay, can I do it like that? Well, let's give it a try. It's not too bad. What if I do this? Is it going to give me that last little piece without distorting it? Is it going to be like a big distortion? Okay, that's actually really good. Let's see if we can continue doing this with minimal distortion. The most important part is the center. So that is going to be my primary focus. Let's see, can I do this? What if I do that? Is that four extras? Or is that 3? Well, let's try. Let's try for, what is that, 4? So I've got that keyed onto, okay, I've got that pressed on 3. Okay, I think I can get 4 out of this if I have 3 points of contact. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Nice. Gotta watch out for any distortions. Yeah, I wouldn't say that this is like precision work, but it's definitely, I mean, I guess you could say it's precision work. It's actually a decent rate right now. So I kind of have to, as I'm doing this on one side, I'm going to have to do this row, and then I'm going to have to do this row, because what that'll do is I established a line of pressure in here, so that starts pancaking it out. And if I go too far this way, it's going to make this kind of like crinkle. So I have to make sure that I'm doing one row, then one row to make sure that that it spreads it out evenly. Otherwise, it's going to get distorted, and it's going to start, the pattern is going to be harder and harder to maintain. But this is actually a decent pace. which I'm kind of happy with. Okay, got to constantly be watching out for any kind of pattern distortion. And really, like, it just creeps up on you. Like, you won't even necessarily notice it start to happen, but by the time it has started to happen, it becomes way more difficult to correct. Like, here is where I got a tiny little bit of pattern distortion earlier. So let's see if that becomes an issue. And I think I have overcome the distortion on this side. I'm just going to be extra super duper careful and only go 2 hexagons at a time. This last bit right here. Okay, so now we are going to move this over here. I guess I should. Yeah, I guess I should do that up there. Okay, now. So this is going to be a little more difficult because I'm kind of blinding myself as I do this. Oh, that's not bad. That is not bad. Okay. Before we start hammering, we have to really make sure that it is set firmly in the footprint that we are looking for. Otherwise, like I said, it is quite easy to make a mistake here and just have the distortion cascade and just mess up our whole day. That would be no good. It would be whatever the opposite of fun is. Not fun, even. Yeah, I remember I used to line these up with my right hand. Could I do it like that? Maybe I can do it from the side here. Okay, yeah, from the side here it seems to, because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. But having to like line it up every single time is going to be a bit of a pain. I mean, at the end of the day, I could just develop the muscle memory needed to do this properly. So I might just try doing that, but it is so difficult. Okay, maybe I should do this one away from myself. That way I have more of a visual aid. Okay, that might work. Yeah, so I might have to just flip this every time so that I am giving myself the best viewing angle. And just pray that I am not drifting. Because this stuff is a balance between how slow do you want to go to make it perfect, and how slow are you willing to go to make it look good, versus how quickly do you need to go to maintain your sanity. Because I mean, I could make it perfect, but that would take quite a bit of time, and it probably would not be very enjoyable. So I said there's an ideal pace. I think we've settled into the 70% output spot. So we're cruising along at a decent pace. We're not going to burn ourselves out by making a big oopsie and cursing our lives. But we are progressing at a reasonable pace here. Okay, we have to go back a couple. Just make a slightly deeper impression. There we go. There we go. Yeah, now imagine doing this thousands and thousands more times. Like, I did a whole shield in this pattern. If I were to do something like that again, I would definitely want some kind of pattern plate that I could just use a multi-ton press to kind of make impressions on. Like the places that make this kind of stuff commercially. Oh, here we have a little bit of a distortion. I just have to make sure I really get in the footprint there to correct that, to make sure it doesn't affect the work. Okay. Not bad. Not bad, not bad. And yeah, as you do this more and more, you kind of get into a... You kind of figure out over time what takes the least amount of energy to do. And whatever takes the least amount of energy with the maximum output, that is what you should always be aiming for. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a little refresh. Not that I think I'll get to that side in time to use that refresh. Wipe off the work surface again. Give this a little wipe. Okay, maybe let's hit some of these spots that don't look super impressed. Well, it's still a little more damp. Okie dokie. Okay, let's try going here and getting some more hexagons. Yeah, I think I remember this being the maximum output as well. Four hexagons at a time. It's not like amazing progress, but it is sustainable, as they say. Just like the best exercise plan is the one you'll actually do, the best martial art for you is the one that you enjoy enough to keep going back to, despite the fact that it might be only slightly painful. Hopefully you're at a good dojo or whatever, or at a good club. Because getting demoralized mid-work and just quitting, raging out and throwing in the towel is the antithesis of completing your projects. Okay, I think I can... Yeah, there we go. Use a little bit less energy on that hammer. Maul, rather. We'll call it Darth Maul. Okay, I gotta get this more in the middle for better energy transfer. And the thing about doing this kind of thing hundreds of times is you kind of get a feel for it. It's like, at the beginning, I needed to visually inspect basically every hexagon. Now I can kind of tell just by feel which ones are going to be good for the... I can set them up just by feel now, which is ultimately what you're aiming for when you do this kind of thing. Okay, I guess let's flip that over. And we want to be very careful to maintain that optimal flow. Because it's easy to let your brain kind of shut down and do it to the best of your ability. But sometimes letting your brain just take over and going on full autopilot is not a good thing, because if you're not paying at least a little bit of attention, you will kind of drift. It's like driving, right? Small corrections constantly is the way to get the most out of it. Okay, good for time. Okay, maybe I'll do half an hour of another project, or an hour of another project after 7:30, just to, get my head in the game. Maybe I should show up to class for the whole session today, just so I know that I'm not gassing myself up, being like, "Ooh, my endurance is so much better than everyone else's." Maybe it's because I don't show up until class is done and everybody's already tired. That would be less than ideal. Okay, man, that is looking so freaking good. I think I might be able to get this pattern done. Get at least this part of the pattern done in time to go to class. Maybe even the full class. That would be something. That would be something indeed. Okay. You may notice I'm a little less talkative right now. It's because I can kind of feel that this is a little bit harder to align. So I'm far enough from the center that the danger of the pattern drifting is greater. So I'm having to do a little more focusing. Still coming along. Pretty good, though. Pretty good, no problem so far. Like, it does kind of burn my biscuit that you can only do this a little bit at a time. But like I said, I think I found the ideal pace for this. Okay. So I seem to be past the risk of drifting. Oh yeah, this stuff is getting quite thin now. Nice, nice, nice. What if I started up here and came down? Does that work? Well, let's test it out, I suppose. Seems to be working okay to me. Not really getting any distortion. Good, good. Man, I need to flatten out this deck. This is getting a little unfavorable. It's like doing the job that you're going to be doing, or the task that you're going to be doing thousands and thousands of times. It's good to have like an ideal work surface if you're going to be doing that much work on it, right? So I kind of feel like in the not too distant future, I really need to flatten this right off. Like, be pedantic, use a power sander, take a level to it, and just like really try to dial it in. Yeah, you can see here, this is totally not flat. So at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to try to get it nice, plumb, and flat. Okay, so we're going to try over here to get these a little bit more impressed upon. I feel like that's mostly good, except maybe a few over here. Okay. So, I'm going to turn that around and try to work our way for the last ones. Okay, not to get sloppy just because we're near the end. Ooh, do I have a little bit of drift here? What is going on here? Okay, let's just re-up that pattern. Okay, there we go. Good, good, good. To really get a good impression in there. Just because we're near the end doesn't mean it's time to get sloppy. Fortunately, we have been very careful. Well, reasonably careful. Careful enough to not go insane, but careful enough to make good progress. And we haven't really got any pattern distortion, which is amazing. If we were going to start, this is the time that it would start. But we're being nice and careful. Moving at that nice 70% output. And it looks like we're going to be able to finish this off, at least the part of this that I was looking to get done tonight. Yes. Do I really need to keep going and really? Probably not, but whatever, I'm going to do it anyways. Just for funsies. It would truly be a shame if I were to mess up the pattern right now. Oh, that would be such a piss off, but I think we're good. As long as we relax, actually let these sit. Yeah, beauty. Beautiful. I'm going to turn that around and start going in the opposite direction, because that's what we do. Okay. I actually feel like at this point I could have made that shield in much less time. Now that I have this technique down. I mean, the surface area on that thing is like 5 or 6 times this. Oh. Yeah, you know what? If I were to redo the shield, I honestly think it would take me a lot less time this time around. Okay, so that might be a good place to call it quits. If I actually want to show up to the full class and be on time and all that jazz. Ooh, excuse me. Okay, so let's bring this back up, bring this back in, bring this back down, bring this back across, put the shield away, let's put it off to the side, get rid of this here, move this out of the way, put this cutting board back on the surface, move this whole thing back into position. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Move this back here. And we went from this thickness to that thickness. I don't know if you can see that. And next time we're going to square this off. There we go. That'll be nice. Square this off, get this all nice and wrapped on there, get it glued on. And yeah, we're going to set a nice line down here. We're going to punch some holes, and then we're going to use a baseball stitch over, under, over, under, over, under to seal that up. And we're going to rewrap this thing. It's going to be real nice. It's going to be part of our custom kit, and it'll be very good. All right, well, thanks for joining me. All 1-2 of you for a little bit. Appreciate the viewership. And this is just kind of a way to work on my showmanship, which is admittedly not great right now, but it will improve, and to get some work done. All right, thanks for joining me. In case you're wondering, it's called Being Awesome. You should try it sometime. Have a great day. Bye-bye.